it's Ms. Hancock, and today we're going to talk about unit rate. The standard that we're going to talk about is 7.RP.1, and we're going to jump right into the vocabulary. Unit rate is a rate that is simplified so that it has a denominator of 1. Let me go back, I accidentally hit that. A denominator of 1, and I want you to understand this is super important. We're going to talk about this quite a bit in this lesson. Complex fraction is a fraction where the numerator is a fraction. So here's the numerator over an integer. Or the denominator is a fraction. So if I had 4 over 2/5, that would be a complex fraction. Or if you have a fraction in the numerator and a fraction in the denominator. Okay, so don't stress out about this. All this means if fraction bar is dividing, and this just means 2/3 divided by 4. Okay, and then you can work it from there. But we're going to work some problems like this in this lesson. And also, just to remind you, there is a video on complex fractions, so you can go back and watch that as well. All right, Mary paints 7/8 of a wall in 1 1/6 hours. What part of the wall does she paint in 1 hour? And I think this is supposed to say Mary. So let's go ahead and look at that. So what do we know about the problem? Mary paints 7/8 of a wall. And she paints it in 1 1/6 hours. How much does she paint of the wall in 1 hour? Well, I know this is a unit rate problem. And how do I know that? I know it's unit rate because it says in 1 hour. We want to find out, remember the denominator has to be 1, what 1 unit is. So you have a numerator divided by a denominator, because unit rate means to divide. We'll use a fraction to solve this problem. And we need to decide what's going to be the numerator, what's going to be the denominator. Well, we want 1 hour, and the denominator has to be 1. So that's what we're looking for right there. So if the hour is the denominator, what is the numerator? It is the wall. So now we're ready to set this problem up and work it. So here's our problem. I'm going to set it up, and remember the numerator is the wall and the denominator is the hours. So I have 7/8 of a wall in 1 1/6 hours. Now I'm going to have to turn this mixed number into an improper fraction. So I have 7/8 wall over, and that would be 7/6 hours. So what I want to do is I want to make my denominator a 1. So how do I make this a 1? Well, the only way to make a fraction a 1 is to multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 6/7. But also remember that if you multiply the denominator by 6/7, you have to multiply the numerator as well. So now let's look going across here. I could multiply this going straight across, but basically these are going to cancel out, and it's going to leave me with 1 hour. Okay. And then here, I could multiply 7 times 6 and 8 times 7 and then simplify, or I could just go ahead and cancel out the 7s, and that's going to leave me a 6/8 for the wall. Now, guys, make sure you put your units there. We don't want to leave them naked. We can't have naked numbers running around the school. Wall is a unit, hour is a unit, so always leave those units on there. Put the clothes on them is what I tell my students. Now, we can simplify this by dividing by 2, and that's going to give me 3/4 of a wall in 1 hour. And then I need to answer in statement form. So Mary paints 3/4 of the wall in 1 hour. And does it make sense? Okay, so in kind of think it through. This is a little bit more than an hour. This is not quite a full wall. So does this make sense? I think it does. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next problem. Okay, candy 1 contains 140 calories in 3/4 of a serving. Candy 2 contains 240 calories in 2/3 of a serving. Find each unit rate. Which candy has the fewer calories per serving? Okay, remember, we can only do part at a time. So let's look at what we know. Candy 1 contains 140 calories in 3/4 of a serving. So I'm going to do C1 has 140 calories in 3/4 of a serving. Okay, so we've got this part right here. Candy 2, so I'm going to separate this. Candy 2 has 240 calories in 2/3 of a serving. And it says find each unit rate. Well, this one's easy on what we do. It says find the unit rate. So that's what we have to do. And remember, unit rate tells us to divide. It tells us put your numerator on top, your denominator on bottom. And remember, what do we want the denominator to be? 1 of something. This doesn't specifically say one of what, but if you look right here, which candy has fewer calories per serving? This is per 1 serving. So serving is going to be our denominator, okay? The servings. So that means that the calories will go as the numerator. So now let's look at our problems. So for candy 1, I'm going to put, remember, we're going to do calories over servings. So I've got 140 calories over 3/4 servings. And remember, how do we make servings 1? That's what we want. We want this to be a 1. We have to multiply by the reciprocal. And if we multiply the denominator, we have to multiply the numerator. These would cancel out, or it would give you 12 over 12, which would give you 1 serving, and that's what we want. Now, you cannot multiply a whole number times a fraction, so you have to put a 1 up under the 140. And when you multiply 140 times 4, that's going to give you 560 calories over 3, and that's your calories. And when you divide that, that's going to give you 186.7 calories. I rounded that number, okay, per 1 serving. Okay, so I've got candy 1 done. Now we have to go candy 2. So let's look at candy 2. We're going to do the same things. We're going to put calories on top, servings on bottom. So for the numerator, it is 240 calories. For the serving, for the denominator, it's 2/3. And we're going to do the same thing we did in the other one. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. And why do we multiply by the reciprocal? Because we want the denominator to be 1. And the only way to get it to be 1 is if we multiply by the reciprocal. So that's 1 serving. And I have 240 times 3 over 2. I have to put that over 1. So 240 times 3 is 720 over 2. That's my calories. See how I'm keeping my units? Make sure you keep your units. And when I say 720 divided by 2, that's going to give me 360 calories per 1 serving. Now, have I answered my question? Which candy has the fewest calories? Well, looking at this, candy 1 has 186.7 calories. Candy 2 has 360 calories. So candy 1 has fewer calories. Okay, but what I would do for math's sake so that we can see this, I would put 186.7 is fewer than 360. And I would do candy 1 and candy 2, and that's showing me that it's 186.7. Candy 1 has fewer calories than candy 2. Well, that's all I have for this lesson, and I hope that this helped you out a little bit, and I will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good day.